Good afternoon. Ken Arzon here. Monday, January 4th, 2021. Still dealing with a nationwide pandemic. So I'm adding more videos to my YouTube channel. I've done videos on baseball, movies, television, world events, songs, vacation spots. About 30 videos. Check out my channel, Ken Arzon, Ardizzone. You may find some of the videos interesting, especially on baseball and basketball. This video today will deal with United States presidents and their rankings. I've seen some of the other rankings analysis on YouTube channel. It stirred my curiosity. Why don't I do my own ranking of the U.S. presidents? So this is my opinion, my analysis, ranking from worst to best. You may agree or disagree. I did some research because I've studied history books. I've looked at all 44 presidents, and we're going to have a 45th one this year. In the year 2021, Joe Biden won the presidency. So he'll be number 45. But I'm going to count down from 44 to number 1. 44 being the worst, in my opinion, and number 1 being the best, according to my analysis. Now, I can't rank Joe Biden because I don't know what he's done yet, so he's not on the list, okay? But these other 44 guys are, and I'm going to start off. What am I looking for in a U.S. president? I want somebody who has done something significant that stands in history, helps out the common folks, and has a major accomplishment to his credit. Now, I like to keep my taxes low. I like a good guy in office. He cares about the people and government programs that helps people, but not over ridiculous spending on things we don't need. For example, sending $10 billion to foreign countries. My taxpayer money going to foreign countries? Why? Keep it here in the United States. That's my opinion. When a guy doesn't want to tax the rich, and just because you're successful, you feel like you're owed the money. If someone works hard, gets educated, and makes a lot of money, they should be able to keep the money because of all their endeavors and hard work. Why are you taxing them to death? 50%, 60% take their money? You're taking more than half their money. So my list will examine the presidents and see how they deal with not only helping the folks out, but how they deal with their presidency and their character, obviously. Now, it's not going to be Democratic or Republican because I'm an independent traditionalist. I'm conservative. I'm not a liberal. And I don't like all these government programs where you're going to help out all these bleeding liberals who refuse to work and they're homeless. So they're homeless on the corner, and you're going to give them food and housing free, and they're just drug addicts and alcoholic, and you're just going to have programs to give them free stuff when they don't want to push the incentive on their own. Now, obviously, some people who are sick or disabled or have health problems need the help. I'm for that, government programs. But I'm not for helping out people who refuse to work, who are lazy, who are imbeciles, and all that, okay? So I'm a traditionalist, I'm a conservative. And my list, I'm not going to bash the Democrats, and I'm not going to bash the Republicans. I'm going to try to be fair-minded, but that'll be pretty hard because I do have my biases. I do have my opinions. I think we better get started with the list and see what you think of my list. This is from my video. I like history. I like geography. And I've looked at all 44 presidents. I have a ranking. Should we get started? Okay, see what you think. Again, don't yell at me. Bear with me. Be kind. You say, what? Why is he number that number? I'm going to say from 44 to about number 10 could be interchangeable, indicating that you can move some people around in different order spots. But I would say some presidents are lousy, some are average, some are good, and some are excellent, and some are just in another classic. All right, you're interested in my list? Let's see how this goes, okay? 44, counting down from the worst to the best. Number 44 on my list, William Henry Harrison, 1841. He served 1 month as president. That's why he's the worst, because he didn't get a chance to do anything. He died in office. What would he have done? We don't know. But we do know that he supported slavery. If you have 30 days in office, why not on the first day of office you indicate to the United States of America, let's do away with slavery? We don't have any record of that because he supported it. Now, as I count down, you'll see that I'm against slavery, and everyone should be. And I think the Civil War was the worst thing that ever happened in the United States of America. Man, 4 years, 500,000 people dead. So I'm going to critique that these presidents, that while they were in office, could have done something about slavery. Did they? Well, 43, counting down. James Buchanan, in 1857 through 1861, I consider to be a bad president, and a lot of rankings on YouTube list him as one of our worst presidents. Why? Well, what did he do? He allowed slavery, and then out of the side of his mouth, he said he opposed it. But he let the states decide what to do about slavery. And if you're the president of the United States, are you for it or against it? And he was wishy-washy guy. And during his presidency, some states were talking of seceding from the Union. And during his 4-year term, it got closer and closer to the point where eventually 13 states, I believe it was, seceded from the Union after 1861. Well, he's the president from 1857 to 1861, just before the start of the Civil War. Why couldn't he calm things down? Why couldn't he propose legislation or give speeches or something to do away with slavery? And maybe there would never have been a Civil War. We don't know. Did you know that the Dred Scott decision happened during his time? Remember Dred Scott? The Supreme Court ruled that African Americans and blacks were not entitled to the same rights as ordinary people. They considered black people to be 3/5 of a person. According to my history reading, I may be wrong as far as how the decision came, what explains the decision. But basically, Dred Scott decision is the worst decision in the history of the United States Supreme Court. Look it up. Basically saying that African Americans and black people are not the same as us. That's terrible. That's a terrible decision. Okay, so I've got James Buchanan, 43 on the list. 42 on the list, After the Civil War was over in 1865, Andrew Johnson became president. And he serves from 1865 to 1869. And what does he do? He pardons the Confederacy. And he wants the southern states to come back into the Union. Noble idea. But he was pretty bad. This would be the time of healing for the nation, and he didn't do very much to heal the nation. In fact, he did not allow blacks to be involved with the political decisions of the day. Come on, guy. What's wrong with you? And as a result, he was fighting with the Congress and some scandals, and he became the first president impeached by the House of Representatives. Now, the Senate, by one vote, allowed him to stay. If that one vote had gone the other way, he would have been kicked out of office. But he survived because the senators at that time kept him in office by one vote. So Andrew Johnson, you're 42 on my list as far as the worst presidents in our country's history. Sorry, no excuse. You should have done a better job with Reconstruction, especially since you assumed the office after Lincoln got assassinated. You start the Reconstruction process and the healing of the country, and he didn't do it. Now, I may miss some of the history. I haven't read the entire history of Andrew Johnson. But if you're being impeached, you must be doing something wrong. Okay, number 41 on my list, counting down. Franklin Pierce. 1853 to 1857. Why do I have him high as far as worst presidents? Well, Franklin, here's what you did wrong. You were part of the movement that led up to the Civil War. What do I mean by that? You didn't calm things down. You agreed with slavery. Where are you, Pierce? He advocated for pro-slavery states while in office. Franklin Pierce, wishy-washy, opposed the abolition movement. He had an attitude, well, we have rights to agree or disagree as far as slavery. There's only one right answer with slavery, and that is to abolish it. You don't treat human beings like slaves. Would you like to be treated as a slave on a plantation? Absolutely not. So Pierce, you come in at number 41 as far as pretty bad president. All right, counting down, number 40, John Tyler. 1841, 1845. Why? Again, he's in office. You know, the period between the 1830s and the 1860s is the time that those presidents who are in office should have done something to prevent the Civil War, have legislation, deal with the South, try to come to the right mind. So John Tyler, he owned slaves. He had a plantation. He believed in states' rights. He supported the Confederacy. John Tyler. What's going on? 1841 to 1845. Now, one thing he did do during 1845 was he annexed Texas, allowed Texas to come into the Union. But that's about it. So, John Tyler, you're number 40 as far as worst presidents. 39. How about this character? Millard Fillmore. 1850 to 1853. What did he do? There was a big compromise. Millard Fillmore served from 1850 to 1853. There was a big compromise of 1850 indicating the states in the Union. Some wanted the slaves and some did not want the slaves. And what did he do with the compromise of 1850? Nothing. This could have prevented the Civil War. So Millard Fillmore, you come in at number 39 on my list as far as poor presidents. Come on, these guys. Leading up to the Civil War from 1830s to the 1860s, Harrison, Tyler, Fillmore, Pierce, Buchanan. We could have stopped the Civil War if you had done something. Number 38 on the list is Zachary Taylor, 1849 to 1850. He tried, Zachary Taylor. During that time, he banned slavery going into the western part of the country. Props to him for trying to do that. But at the same time, Taylor, he opposed the compromise, indicating that the two sides get together. He opposed it. He was involved in the War of 1812 and all that. He had treaties with U.S., Britain, and Canada during that time. So he was focused on that. He's focused on treaties with other countries, but not focused on the slave issue in the United States as far as abolishing it. So Zachary Taylor, you come in at number 38 on my list, counting down. Number 37. I've got a list here. James K. Polk, 1845 to 1849. Polk. This is another guy. You know what he does when he comes into office? He reduces tariffs. Okay. He reforms the banks. Okay. And he secures the Oregon Territory in the western part of the country. The Oregon, not a state yet, I believe. So during his time, he's focused on Oregon. But this is the time before the Civil War starts, 1845. James K. Polk, where are you to help us out preventing a Civil War? Boy, I put you down at number 37 on my list. Number 36, counting down, bad presidents or poor performances. How about that? Martin Van Buren, 1837, 1841. Have you noticed, as I'm counting down, these presidents between the 1830s and the 1860s, just before the Civil War, which starts in 1861, I'm putting them down as the poor performances of presidents. And so Martin Van Buren, what does he do? He establishes a strong Democratic Party. Okay, he's concerned with his party. But as during his time was an economic depression, 1837 to 1841. But where are you? Where are you, Martin Van Buren? Okay, counting down. Number 35 on my list. All right, I've dealt with these guys in the 1830s. We're going to come to a person, Warren G. Harding, 1921 to 1923. Poor presidency. Why? Well, let's see. He's wishy-washy. He couldn't communicate with the foreign leaders, had bad communication skills, and in Congress didn't get much done. He increased tariffs on imports coming in. He had a budget act that passed, but his budget wasn't very good. But I've got Harding here at number 35 because he was involved in shady dealings, scandals, and I don't know how many presidents were, what's the right word? Sex lives, their sex life during the presidency was not moral. And he was one of the first ones, fathered a child out of wedlock. All right, I don't know all the details. I didn't read the whole story about it, but he's one of the first ones that immoral. Now, what is what is the definition of morality? What are my standards, and what is Christian standards, and what is the presidential standards? That's up for everybody to decide. But Warren G. Harding, I'm going to put you down at number 35 as a poor president. Number 34. All right, Harding was 1921 to 1923. But number 34 on my list, you got to go with this guy, Herbert Hoover. 1929 to 1933, what happened? The stock market crash, and as a result, the Great Depression. And if you've seen old videos of those wagon trains, even during the 1930s, you had people in the Dust Bowl, couldn't eat, didn't have housing, poor weather conditions, and as a result, the Great Depression under Herbert Hoover. Oh man, you can't let that happen. Under your presidency, you're in control. What happened? Herbert Hoover. Oh boy, the stock market just crashed, and all the people had a run on the banks and panic and food lines. Herbert Hoover, you got to put him down. But do you notice I have him around number 34? I don't have him up at the 44. Why? Because these guys from 44 to 34, they could have prevented the Civil War, or at least tried, and they didn't. So now 35 was Harding, and 34 Hoover. 33, James Garfield. 1 year in office. Why do I have him high? Well, didn't get much done. He was for civil rights. He oversaw the Panama Canal, contributed to that. And he dealt with Latin America. But 1 year in office is not much, so I can't judge him. But I'm going to put him pretty high as far as not getting much done. If you're the president of the United States, you got to get something done for your legacy and for the country. 1 year in office, I can't find anything that James Garfield is significant. If you ask someone on the street, what did James Garfield do? I don't know. All right, number 32 on the list, counting down, Benjamin Harrison, 1889 to 1893. All right, what did Benjamin Harrison, did he do anything significant? Let's see if I can find him. He's after Cleveland. All right, during office, he annexed to Hawaii. He was concerned about Hawaii. All right, good for him. He had some foreign affairs, tariffs, protect, trade. It's about it. Benjamin Harrison, that's all I can find. You'll have to read more of the autobiography of all these guys, get into more detail. But if you ask someone on the street, what did Benjamin Harrison do? So that's why he's number 32, counting down from worst to best. Okay, we've had the worst. Now we're getting into average. Okay, some presidents. 31 on the list. How about this guy? Rutherford B. Hayes, 1877 to 1881. This is the time of Reconstruction, right? Or shortly thereafter. So what does Hayes do? Civil service reform, all right. Protect the election laws, okay. Voting rights for blacks, all right. Some props to Hayes, our president. 1877 to 1881, wanted blacks to vote. All right, state right. Reconstruction is kind of winding down. One of the mistakes he made was to let all the states make their own decisions. But as the states started making decisions, some of them wanted to go back to getting their slaves back. So he needed to be more forceful for Hayes. This is all my conjecture and my opinion. So don't take everything I'm saying literally, but just generally speaking on these presidents, okay? And that's why I have my ranking. All right, so I'll put him number 31. Counting down, number 30 on the list. Okay, Chester A. Arthur, 1881 to 1885. All right, he was a business guy, tariff relief for businesses, get some tax breaks, get some budget surpluses during his time, civil rights, and he said the Indians can keep their lands. So right now I'm in the average category of these presidents, okay? So Chester A. Arthur, only 4 years in office. I give him a C grade, average, okay? I'll put him at number 30. Number 29 on the list, John Quincy Adams. All right, we're going back to 1825 to 1829. But why do I have him at number 29 on my list? Well, his father, John Adams, was the second president of the United States, and he was involved in the Constitution and the founding of our country, John Adams. So John Quincy Adams must have believed what his father did. And you know what he did when he was in office? 1837 to 1841. He's kind of in that period where the slavery is going on, and he could have done something. But he tried with the federal funding of interstate roads and canals, established the universities, a naval academy, even got into the astronomy. So I'm not going to slam John Quincy Adams because I believe he must have believed what his father did, John Adams. So I'll put him at number 29 on the list. He could have done something maybe to speak up about slavery. Maybe he did. Have to read his autobiography. Number 28 on the list. This one, average, but I would say average to poor. Woodrow Wilson, 1913 to 1921. He serves 2 terms. I'm not too keen on Woodrow Wilson. He could have been a socialist. I don't know. But Woodrow Wilson, where is he? You know what he believed in? The separation of powers between the federal government. You have the executive, the legislature, and the judicial. So he tried to segregate more, but you know what? He believed more in the executive power being more, and that was his downfall. He was involved in World War I. He was hard to negotiate with the other nations. He had regulations on business. He believed in the welfare state. I don't know about Woodrow Wilson. He did serve 2 terms. So I'm going to put him at number 28 on the list. I have to read more of his autobiography. I don't know the whole story behind him, but he was a unique character. He could have believed more in the socialist view versus the capitalist view, so I'm concerned about him. I apologize if maybe I'm getting some of the facts wrong on some of these presidents. But Wilson, I don't know. Maybe I should look him up more and study him. He's number 28. Number 27 on the list, Andrew Jackson, 1829, 1837. This is another guy who serves 2 terms. So if he does 4 years and then the country believes and he gets another 4 years, he must have done some significant things. What happened with Andrew Jackson? Well, he has a flaw, and that is he believed the Indians should be removed from their lands and put somewhere else. It was an Indian removal policy during that time. I don't know the full story on that, but Andrew Jackson he's one of our dictator presidents. He was a strong character. But he did some good things. He erased the national debt. He had tariffs with Britain and Canada. He wanted to stay away from the foreign environment, and then he established banks. So Andrew Jackson, he's on the $20 bill. How about that? I'll have to read more of his autobiography, but I'm going to put him number 27 on my list. He's about halfway. So how about average? Okay. 26 on the list, another average guy, and actually a poor performance. Jimmy Carter, 1977 and 1981. Any significant developments with Carter? Well, during his time, we had the energy crisis. And there was Soviet aggression. You had the Iran crisis. And it was hard he wanted peace negotiations, and he tried. I'm not going to put him in the worst category. I'm not going to put him in a good category. I'll put him in the average to poor category. Jimmy Carter. I mean, he serves 4 years, and if he's doing a good job, he would have won in 1980, but he lost to Reagan. So Jimmy Carter, what's his significant achievement? Some social programs, helping out the needy, caring for the poor, and Habitat for Humanity. He's a big guy there. So I'll give him props for the building houses. Jimmy Carter. All right, counting down. 25, sorry. Barack Obama. 2009, 2017. Serves 2 terms. He has Obamacare, the health care legislation to help out people who can't afford insurance. Good and bad parts of it. The good is those who need it don't have to pay as much. The bad is you can't see your doctor, and you can't keep your old plan because according to Obamacare, according to what I've read, it's basically the government trying to take over your health care, and then you have to follow what we decide. Healthcare should be everyone's decision on who they want their doctor and who they want for their plans. And Obamacare interfered with that decision. Not in all cases, but in some cases, people couldn't keep their doctor. And also premiums went up, and that is true. They did a study that with the healthcare legislation that the Congress passed and Obama pushed for, it raised healthcare cost. Now, on the other side of the spectrum, there were free costs for the low income people. But as far as the average and upper class people, they had to start paying more. So, and then also the problem I had with Obama was climate accord. He entered into an agreement where you have all these countries agreeing that we're going to reduce regulations. So as a result, you need to contribute millions and millions and millions of dollars in order to help us decrease climate or to help with the climate in the country to make cleaner air and cleaner water and all that. I agree with all cleaner air and cleaner water, but I don't agree with spending millions and millions of dollars trying all these solar programs and all that, and some of it failed and did not work. So we're wasting money trying to control the climate. Now, if you're going to ask me, do I believe in the global warming and the Earth is getting way out of control, where in 10 years we're not going to be able to live on this planet? I don't believe that. Do you? Do you believe 10 years from now we're not going to be able to drink our water and have clean air? And this is some of these wacko global warming people believe. Now, I believe in environment and I want to do the best we can, but I don't agree with all the money being spent, and a lot of programs don't work. That's my main beef with the climate, the global warming crowd. And they're saying the temperature is going to go up where we can't live. 20 years ago, it was 70 degrees in Vista. 20 years later, it's 70 degrees in Vista. All right. 70 degrees, 71 degrees in Vista. It went up 1 degree. Big deal. Come on. So it's way out of proportion, the climate and all that. Okay, so Obama was for all that. Also, Obama was for the open borders. We want all the illegal aliens to become citizens. Come on. You got to have borders. You got to regulate who comes into the country, don't you? Can't have all the nations of the earth coming here, free ride, and now you're a citizen, American citizen, and all those people who are waiting in line applying to become a citizen are pushed to the back of the line. Obama, no walls. Yeah, come on over. You're all citizens. Now, maybe I'm exaggerating. Maybe he'll tell you, well, I don't want everyone in the world to come here, but your open border policy allows everybody in this world to have a chance to come here. So Obama, I don't know, I was not impressed with his presidency. And also, I just got the feeling from Obama that if you don't agree with him, you're a racist. I'm not a racist. There's the division in the politics, blue states versus red states, and I think he contributed to the division that we have in this country by giving the indication that his beliefs are the way to go. Did he compromise with the Congress? I didn't see too much legislation where there was compromise by Obama. Maybe I'm wrong, and I'll admit I'm wrong. But him and some of the other presidents, and I'll get to another one later, that it's either his way or no way. So Obama, I'm going to put you at number 25. I'm going to put you at average. I'm not going to put you at the worst. I'm not going to put you at the best either. Okay, so Obama. 24, George H.W. Bush. Sorry. He presided over 9/11. As soon as he got into office, 2001, there was a bombing of the Trade Center, and he's involved in that in his first year of presidency, dealing with the Taliban and Al-Qaeda and Osama bin Laden. So he had a rough go at the beginning. But the problem with Bush, see, I've got him here, W. Bush. The problem he had was he went too far. And the starting of the Iraq War. Now, in the beginning, I wasn't sure whether I'm for it or against it, but now that I look back, if you're going to go into a war, win it. And also, if you're going to go start a war in Iraq, you gotta try your best not to get our guys killed. Well, I don't know how many people died in Iraq. Are American soldiers dying over there? And I didn't agree with that. Every day you get a report, 15 here, 20 here killed, 100 here. I don't know, thousands and thousands of our guys died over there. I don't agree with that. If you're going to fight a war, win it, and don't lose any lives. Is that possible? Well, we're the best military in the world. Why can't we prevent our soldiers from dying? Is war that hard? I mean, is war that evil that our guys going to die regardless of being the best military in the world? So my decision would be, yes, maybe we'll target sites and bomb them, but I don't want my guys dying. And I think the problem that Bush made was that too many of our guys died in Iraq. And that's where I don't agree with that. You had the weapons of mass destruction. He had the intelligence, and then you don't know if it's true or not, what's going on. National security. I'll give him credit for tax cuts and for his conservative principles, but I'm going to put George Bush as number 24. Average to poor. Obama, same, average to poor. 22 on my list, Gerald Ford. When does he serve? Bush is between 2001 and 2009. Gerald Ford is 1974, 1977, right after Nixon resigns. the problem with Ford is the economy started to go down. He pardoned Nixon, which I agreed with, but then the energy crisis got out of control. He was good at foreign policy, Ford, and he was part of the Warren Commission. Did you know that? That studied the assassination of John Kennedy. And they concluded that Oswald was the only shooter. That I don't agree with. Maybe I'll have a video on the Kennedy assassination and the Oswald connection and the mafia and Cuba and all that, and the conspiracies. And was there more than one shooter? I believe there was. I can't prove it. But anyways, Gerald Ford, I'm going to put him as an average president. Number 22 on the list, counting down, George H. Bush, which is the father of George W. Bush. George H. Bush beats his son. He was a little better. He was vice president of Ronald Reagan, but he serves 1989 and 1993, only one term. You know why? He was a good military guy, good on defense. They had the Kuwait Gulf War, which he won, the Persian Gulf War and all that. But during his time, the budget got out of control. He spent on the military and just spend and spend. And so we started getting deficits. That was his downfall. But he was good on foreign policy and domestic. And he was I liked him as a leader, George H. Bush. He looked like a president to me, but he had shortcomings. And so he didn't get reelected. Clinton beats him. Can't let that happen. He should have served 2 terms, and maybe he could have figured it out. One time he gave a speech. He said, "Read my lips, no new taxes." And then a couple months later, there were some taxes. So he blew it there. All right, counting down. How we doing? Number 21 on the list, Richard Nixon. 1969 to 1974, first president to resign from office because of the Watergate scandal. He broke into a Democratic headquarters, wanted to get some of the secrets because of the election or whatever. Big mistake, terrible. He had some shady characters. But why do I have Nixon ahead of Obama, Bush, Ford, as far as counting down? I've got him number 21 on my list. Richard Nixon was a character. I liked him. I don't know why. I read his book. He had China relations. You know, he flew over to China and met with their dictator. One of the first presidents to do that. I don't know if anyone else met with in China territory. I think Nixon was the first one. He flies over there and meets with the dictator of China. Now, the mistake is that since that time, China has gotten more and more powerful because Nixon opened up relations with China. Well, China, they wanted to have good relations, but as a result, they're taking advantage and now coming up as a superpower. So that was Nixon's mistake. But I like the fact that he went over there to open up relations with China so we wouldn't have war with them. That was interesting. And then he dealt with the Russians too. Very bold. He'd go over there and meet with them. And let's see, Nixon, the Cold War kind of calmed down a little bit during his time. You got to give him props for that. Arms control, missile treaties. And, you know, he helped get us out of Vietnam. You got to give him a little credit bringing some of our soldiers home. That was a very hard period, 1969 to 1974. The Vietnam War was winding down, and he brought our soldiers back. He had a hard presidency, though. He resigned because of Watergate. But Nixon, 21 on the list. Could have been better if it wasn't for Watergate. Okay, number 20 on the list, Bill Clinton. 1993-2001, serves 2 terms. I'll give him credit for some budget surpluses. Didn't spend as much, which is good. But what was his downfall? He got too much into the social programs, my opinion. And as a result, well, he didn't spend as much, but some of the social programs I didn't agree with. For example, the homeless people who are drug addicts, who refuse to work and just lazy, and even criminals. According to my impression, some of these social programs helped out some of these characters, which I don't agree with. If you're lazy and you're a criminal and you're doing drugs and you're lazy and you're homeless and you commit crimes, you don't belong on the street to receive social programs from the government. You belong in prison to straighten out your head and get your act together. My opinion. Okay. Clinton, why do I have him number 20? Well, he got impeached by the House of Representatives for sex scandal and lying to the FBI, I guess. They took away his law license. So he got impeached. He did in the House, but in the Senate, they acquitted him. But Clinton, you'll give him a little props for the economy doing pretty well through the 90s there. That was 1993, 2001. They say they had a budget surplus, but they forget to mention that Ronald Reagan in the years before him got the economy booming, booming, booming. And Clinton just rode that through the 90s. Anyways, all right, number 20, let's count down. Number 19, Lyndon Baines Johnson, ahead of Clinton. 1963 to 1969, assumes the presidency after John Kennedy is shot. He becomes president. Tumultuous, or a terrible period in our nation's history, and Johnson takes over. He's a unique character. He's a Texan. How about Lyndon Johnson? All right, what does he do? Civil Rights Act. Give him props because, oh man, everyone was protesting and the blacks are being mistreated and the campuses are having riots. And Lyndon Johnson, with the help of the Congress, they passed the Civil Rights Acts where to treat more people more civilly. He had some tax cuts too, I agree with that. He cared for the environment. You got the Medicare and Medicaid programs going. That was during the 60s there. Lyndon Johnson. But his downfall was the Vietnam War. Oh, what a mess. And he couldn't get out. They kept fighting, and he'd send the troops in, and they negotiate with the North Vietnamese, and the South could not agree, and there was fighting and killing, and our soldiers were being killed, and people were protesting back here at home. Man, that was hard. And Lyndon Johnson should have been more forceful and maybe figured it out. So for about 3 or 4 year period there, his downfall was the Vietnam War. Lyndon Johnson, but I've got him high because of the Medicare, strength and Social Security too. I'll give him credit there. Number 18 on the list, Donald Trump. This is another unique character. Now, why do I have him number 18? I'm gonna give him average to good, not average to poor, average to good. Why? Well, he comes in to office. His personality is brash, I will give you that. And people don't like his style and his forcefulness. But you gotta give credit where credit is due. There was an economic boom going on. Unemployment rate was 3.1% before the pandemic. Is that right? Maybe my figures are wrong. The unemployment rate was pretty low. More people were working, and there was a stat that came out that said that under Trump's presidency, more people in the history of the country had jobs than at any time in United States history. Now, of course, the year is 2017 through 2021. More people are in the country, 350 million people. But according to his economic policies, more African Americans were working, more Chinese Americans working, more Spanish, Mexican Americans working, and the unemployment rate was at its lowest. The stock market, as of today, is 30,600. Now, under Bush and Obama, it was like 10,000. Under Bush, I think it was 8,000. Under Obama, 12,000. And under Trump, 30,000. How about that? They passed the Tax Cut Act, and it helped me out personally, so I like that. Now you're saying it's tax cuts for the rich? Again, I don't believe that you should tax the rich 50 and 60% and take half their income just because they're wealthy and just because they are successful in life. So actually, their rate came down from 39% to 37%. Big deal. They're still paying 37%. And if you live in New York, you add another 12%, so that's 50%. And then the property taxes in New York are terrible. So you could be paying 60% of your income in taxes in New York. California, it's close to 60%. If you add federal, state, sales tax, and property tax, a person who's a millionaire will pay 60% of it. So $600,000 in taxes? Come on. So that's my opinion on taxes. Trump had conservative judges. I like that. You know, not these liberal judges that say that transgender bathrooms are okay on elementary school campuses. You want transgender on college campuses and high school campuses, bathrooms, transgender bathrooms. So a man who thinks he's a woman goes into the man's bathroom, and a woman who thinks she's a man goes into the men's bathroom. And so there's just no difference between the genders. All right, I could have a big spiel on the transgender and all that. So another thing Trump did was strong military, but Trump's downfall was his brash style of governing and his personality. And as a result, less than 50% of the country agree with that. I think it was 46%. So in this election in 2020, he loses to Joe Biden, the popular vote, and he loses in the Electoral College because some of the states they may like the policy, but they don't like his personality and his over-the-line rhetoric. I guess that was it. I can't figure it out. Trump, who has a good economy going. Oh, you know, also his downfall was that he got the pandemic, and that really hurt. We got the virus, and over 350,000 people lose their lives. I mean, if George Washington and Abraham Lincoln were president during a pandemic, you think they would keep their job in office? And they couldn't figure out the pandemic and how to get rid of it? Any president with a pandemic would have been booted out of office. That's my opinion. So Trump blew it. Where did he blow it? Not figuring out how to get along with more than 50% of the country. There are always going to be the libs that will hate you regardless, but you got to get over that 50% mark in order to appease the country. I better count down here because I'm getting close to an hour. 17 on the list, John Kennedy. All right. He had tax cuts. I like that. And he had the personality where he can get along with people more, and that was his bright side. He was able to negotiate, and as a result, more than 50% of the people liked him. His downfall was the Cuban Missile Crisis and the Bay of Pigs. But he tried for civil rights, got along with Martin Luther King Jr., but his other downfall was the start of the Vietnam War getting going, and he couldn't control that. But I got Kennedy up there. Why? Because as a statesman, he knew how to communicate with people, and that's what you need in a president. And he would have been reelected easily if he hadn't gotten assassinated. 16 on the list, Grover Cleveland, 1885 to 1889. And then he loses. Harrison becomes president for 4 years. So Cleveland in 1893 runs again and wins. 1893 to 1897. Why do I like Grover Cleveland? Grover Cleveland. He opposed high tariffs. You put a tariff on another country. He opposed it, and I like that. I don't think you should have high tariffs. You can have some tariffs, but not really, really high ones. So as a result, you damage relations with countries. He believed in the civil service. Okay. And even though economic times were hard there, he tried to get the country moving again. And so his policies were more beneficial to the average man. All right, Grover Cleveland, not bad. 15 on the list, Ulysses S. Grant, 1869, 1877, serves 2 terms. Of course, we know he was the general in the Civil War, and he won the Civil War for the North and defeated Robert E. Lee. In the famous meeting, they sat down and Lee surrendered and Grant said, all right. And so Lincoln really admired Grant for his strong military, being a general and leading his troops and winning the Civil War, and they finally win. So he wins the presidency. But in the presidency, it starts the Reconstruction period after slavery is being abolished in the states. Had a hard time, and he wasn't a very good communicator as far as with the politicians in Congress, the Senate, and the House of Representatives. So as a result, couldn't get much passed because he has this general. He's a general in the army, in the military, and that was his personality. He was not a legislator, but he does get the Reconstruction going. He passes the 15th Amendment. He gets foreign policy going, but also a little downfall of Grant's presidency was some shady dealings with some crooks and little scandals. You have to read the autobiography of Grant to find out all those scandals, but I'll put him down at number 15 on my list. Number 14, James K. Polk. Why? Well, he serves 1845 to 1849. Why do I have him close? What did he do? James Polk. He reduced tariffs. I like that. He reformed the banks. Banks were having a hard time during that time, and he reformed them so that people can trust the banking system. Big deal in that time. Got the economy going a little bit, and he was involved in the territories expanding west. James K. Polk. Now, you may say, what did he do about the slavery and the Civil War? He doesn't mention much, but I'm going to put him 14 because of the banking system, and that's where people can trust to put their money in the banks. Okay. 13 on the list. How about this guy? William McKinley, 1897 and 1901, turn of the century. Why? What's significant about William McKinley? Where is he on my list? Here he is. He wins the Spanish-American War, the turn of the century. Props. I like that. He establishes trade with the foreign countries. And as a result, after the Reconstruction of the 1870s and 1880s and 1900s, turn of the century, we're headed in the right direction. No slavery and economic starting to come around, and that's what you need in a leader. So I'm going to give McKinley up there. Okay, all right. Number 12, Dwight D. Eisenhower, 1953 to 1961, serves 8 years. He was in the he was a general, and he helped us win the war, World War II. But what's significant about Eisenhower? Okay, wins the Korean War. Very decisive leader. He doesn't mess around. I like him, a no-nonsense guy, Eisenhower. And see, he's in the 1953 to 1961. You know what happens in the 1950s? Economic boom. Housing. People have jobs. Of course, after the war, everything starts to turn around. But he leads the boom of the 1950s. What a decade that was. He gets the highway system going, interstate freeways, and he lessens the tension of the Cold War between the Soviets and all that. It's kind of calmed down through the 50s. What a period. I was born in 1954. But I didn't see what happened in the 50s. But how about Eisenhower? All right, I've got him up there. Number 12, number 11, Calvin Coolidge. Why? When did he serve? Calvin Coolidge, 1923 to 1929. The Roaring 20s. Have you heard about it? Economic boom. And the Roaring 20s. You ever hear of it? People are doing well. Henry Ford has the cars all over the place, and people are buying cars. What else did Coolidge do? Let's see if I can find him. He was... All right, Coolidge. I've got him here. He had the banks. Banks were doing all right. Farmers were doing okay. Foreign policy was good. He enacted tax cuts, Coolidge. It's just too bad because during the 20s, they got it really going. Baseball was thriving. You had Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig during that time, and the Yankees. People going to the ballparks, they could go. But from 1923 to 1929, good economy going. And then, of course, 1929, what happened was the stock market crash. Why? Because by 1929, when Coolidge left, and Hoover, where is Hoover? Yeah, Hoover came in. Hoover didn't continue what was going on as a result. People started getting nervous, and then the run on the bank, and Great Depression begins. But Coolidge before that had it going. So I got him down here, number 11.